What's up, friends? Welcome into Rock Chalk Sports on this Thursday with Elijah Schmidt running the operations and Dan Courtwright. I'm Sean Kellerman. Full show for you today. We're going to talk KU women's basketball here in the opening segment. Over at Allen Fieldhouse last night, it was a close game in the first half, and then the Kansas women ended up running away with it in half number 2, 81-60. Plus, we're going to hear from head coach Brandon Schneider and some Kansas women's basketball players after the win here in just a little bit. And then excited for next segment, we're going to hear from head football coach Lance Leipold. Got to hear from Coach Leipold at length yesterday. Not as much about the newcomers, the incoming players. I was a little bit surprised by that, but a lot of chatter, of course, on the return of associate head coach Andy Kotelnicki and some other pieces regarding KU football. I would say probably more philosophical than usual from Lance Leipold, certainly more passionate than usual. We hadn't got a chance to talk to him in a while.
And he came in with a fire under him.
He's fired up, I think.
Yeah, I thought that was good to see. He was quick to defend all of his guys, and it was a little bit of an interesting press conference because we walked in thinking, all right, well, we're probably going to roll through all the newcomers, see how they're doing in the offseason, and there's been a lot of storylines for KU football kind of outside of that where nobody really even got to that until the last question when Andy Eish, shout out to Andy Eish, was like, he said, hey, got time for one more question.
Yeah.
And he's like, I guess talk about all the players. He's like, oh,
right.
Okay. So he kind of rolled through them. He talked a little bit of quarterback, situation in the middle, but a lot of Andy Kotelnicki talk, a lot of coaching change talk.
I know. It's like I have a little regret that I should have asked more. Like, there's a lot of exciting newcomers.
As it was going on, we were like 26 minutes in. I was like, should I just like grab the mic and ask?
As Cox, like all sorts of really exciting players. He did talk about Dylan Edwards. He did. We'll hear Coach touch on that. Of course, the transfer from the Little Apple comes over to Lawrence, and excited to see what Dylan Edwards can do his first year as a Jayhawk. We're talking Super Bowl after part one of Coach Leipold. Seahawks, Patriots. We have flashback to 2015, I feel like. 2015 was the last time they... Or was it 14?
It was 40. It was Super Bowl 49.
Okay. So it's 2015. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Correct.
So Super Bowl 49, Super Bowl 60. This is just a weird feeling Super Bowl to me. I don't know. Are you going out with Lotta and those guys on Sunday?
No, I had plans already. Yeah. Shreyas did invite us to go out and watch Super Bowl somewhere. I love Shreyas, good friend of ours.
We'll have him on the show tomorrow unless Dan says something that he regrets.
But he is also an insufferable Patriots fan.
So oh my God, I forgot about that.
I can't watch a game like same with Hanni. Like I don't want to watch a game with a Patriots fan. I want to watch it with a neutral fan base. I can't. Yeah, I'll watch any other game with Shreyas. Just I don't want to watch a Patriots Super Bowl with Shreyas.
The first 25, 27 years of my life, whatever, it was great watching the Super Bowl. I would just go somewhere and, you have appetizers, you have drinks. Yeah. Don't really care who wins. Maybe you get the Super Bowl Squares game. And then I kind of got used to the Chiefs being in it every year.
Same.
So it turned into a massive thing, beer drinking, escapades. My life depends on this, that sort of thing. And now
Super Bowl
it's kind of
more stressful.
I know. So it
used to be so much fun, and then once your team was in it every year, then it's like I couldn't relax.
I guess I know, but it still was more fun because of the pageantry of everything.
True.
So I don't know. I guess now we're back to it being a Super Bowl without the Chiefs. I remember Bengals Rams, whatever year that was, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whenever it was. I think I just ordered some chicken and just ate a bunch of chicken in my basement and watched that.
The Rams Bengals one. I remember watching it at Town Royal. Shout out Town Royal in Emporia. And my biggest thing that year was Super Bowl Squares. I didn't care about. I didn't care. I mean, I watched the game obviously, and I had a couple of bets on it, but I was really interested in the Super Bowl Squares.
Yeah,
that was my That's all I cared about.
It's fun.
Yeah, it was great.
Fun. It's
fine.
Fun.
Super Bowl
it's still fun. Super Bowl squares are great. As Dan will be the first to tell you, throwing a few bucks down on that. So Seahawks Patriots again. Get yourself a bucket of chicken to enjoy yourself if you need to, and some beers. It's not like the Chiefs are in it. Hopefully next year they're back in it. But yeah, tough to go every year. So enjoy the low stress situation, as Dan said. Speaking of the Patriots, speaking of insufferable Patriots fans. We're going to bring on the voice of the Kansas Jayhawks, Brian Hanni. And I say that in jest, of course. He is a Patriots fan. He tries not to broadcast that. We will broadcast that for him.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've
He
been
does not
poopy.
like it when we talk about it.
No, he doesn't. He really doesn't. So, yeah, they've been poopy here recently. But, yeah, they had a lot of success, and now they're back. So make sure we get a question regarding Seahawks-Pats to the voice of the Jayhawks when he comes in. But obviously, we'll talk all things KU with him. He was there, as we were yesterday, to hear from Leipold and Kotelnicki and KU basketball as well, who has been trending up, and that has been a blast. We're going to hear more from Coach Leipold following Brian, and then we'll close out the show talking Big 12 basketball. I almost wanted to open with this because I feel like it's such a story, but BYU loses at Gallagher-Iba. They've dropped 4 of 5 and 3 straight. They might be out of the rankings. You know who comes calling to Provo on Saturday? Houston.
Oh,
So BYU in a late night affair hosts Houston.
how weird
on
would that
Saturday.
be? If BYU beats Houston, that shakes things up a lot.
Well, that's what I'm saying. People forget that because
Yeah.
we're so honed in on Kansas' schedule.
Yeah.
And we focus on all the hard games. Other teams have hard games too.
Yeah.
And in this scenario,
Big 12.
obviously, you want BYU to get right and then knock off Houston, because now after the Texas Tech game, we're kind of like, all right, let's go ahead and try to win the Big 12 championship. And let's do what we used to do all those years, which is cheer for the teams above us to lose and try to figure out how we can creep our way up there. KU 7-2. Houston is now 8-1. Arizona is 9-0. Dan liked UCF. He said it was way too big of a line at plus 14.5 last night. Houston ends up winning by 24. I
also
believe
said
you also
BYU
like the
covers.
Cougars to win. I don't know, who'd you have in ASU Utah? Because I think Sun Devils won that one. That wasn't the most
I think I might have hit
electrifying matchup.
I think I had the over in that game.
The under hit comfortably.
The under hit comfortably, and I remember pushing the point away. Or no, did I take it?
Oh, yeah. So
I
you
took
did.
the point.
You took the point. So you had Arizona State, who did win 71-63. And then there was one more game, Baylor and Colorado.
And I had Baylor killing them.
Baylor
And they killed
did.
them.
There you go.
yeah.
So you didn't do as poopy as I thought.
500. You
So
kidding me?
maybe Scott Drew is back. Baylor 13-9. They're 3-7 now in Big 12 play, but a couple wins for the Bears. Anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show, but got to shout out KU women's basketball. It's been a trying year, definitely in the conference season, but with the victory 81-60 over BYU, KU has improved to 14-10. They're 4-8 in Big 12 play. BYU, they were a middle of the conference type team, 16-7 now, are the Cougars 5-6 in Big 12 play. A lot of Jalea Davis, but Dan, the story of this one was after halftime. 32-32, expected it to be a close game. All of a sudden, Kansas goes out, dominates, wins by 21.
Yeah, at the beginning part of this game, it was kind of a little bit of a defensive chess match, I think. They went into halftime, tied up 32-32, and Jalea Davis only had 5 points. And you're thinking, man, they're kind of bottling her up. Samaya had 9, Sanaya had 4, Lily had 4, Laya had 3, Elle had 3. I mean, just kind of a spread even affair in terms of points scored, but just not a lot of points scored, and they weren't getting a lot of easy buckets. But it was kind of the same with BYU as well, right? BYU, they had a really good player, Delaney Gibb, who's their best player by far. They held her to 1 of 13 from the field, and a big part of that is Sanaya Copeland. Sanaya Copeland is probably the most annoying, in a good way, the most annoying defender in the world, because she is on your face. She doesn't care. She's just a pest is probably the best way to describe it. She's so good on the defensive end of the ball. Offensively, she's fine. And Sanaya finished this game with 6 points, 3 of 4 from the field. Didn't put up a lot of shots. She played 27 minutes in this game. But on the defensive side of the ball, she was just an absolute pest and was just giving it to Delaney Gibb. So I just want to shout her out. Delaney Gibb, she had 10 points, like I said. 8 of those were free throws. Only 1 of them was from the field. 1 for 13 from the field is just incredible. They wind up shooting 19 of 63 from the field as a team, 30%. Defensively, I thought this was a tremendous effort. And like I said, they were tied up at halftime. All of a sudden, they come out of the half. Kansas goes on an 11-1 run. Out of nowhere, just constantly feeding Jalea and getting those post feeds. Jalea finishes his game, like I said, she had 5 points at the half. She finishes his game 28-12. By the way, this is going to shock you. That was her first career double-double.
Yeah.
She'd gotten to 9 rebounds, I think 3 times. Never passed the double-digit mark in rebounds. Finally was able to do that. Kansas, one of the worst offensive rebounding teams in the nation. They're in the 300s in the nation in offensive rebounding. They finished this game with 11 offensive rebounds. Jalea had 5 of them. She did an excellent job at cleaning up the glass. So the 2 players of the game by far and away were obviously Jalea in the second half, and then Sanaya just putting Delaney Gibb in an absolute torture chamber. I want to shout out Laia Canessa too, because Laia Canessa was also out there giving Delaney Gibb the business. But BYU is a good team, and they just didn't shoot well. And I think that you can attribute a lot of that to the defensive effort I think that Coach Brandon's squad put out there. And yeah, it's just so unfortunate because Henry said it yesterday. You look at this team, you look at the sheer talent that they have with Jalea, who is probably going to be.
I mean, she is on track to be an All-American. The problem is Kansas hasn't won enough games, but she's probably going to be 6th straight week, Big 12 freshman of the week, 28-12.
Freshman of the year. She's definitely in those conversations.
I mean, she'll definitely be the freshman of the year.
Yeah, 100%. In the Big 12, maybe even in the nation, All-American status, whether they be first team, second team, third team, whatever it may be. I mean, she is on pace for that. She is that good. She is a dog. Samaya, unbelievable. She's tough. She went down 3 times. Seemingly was relatively drastic, and then all of a sudden she comes back 3 times in this game. Tweaked her ankle once. Got her eye poked out once. Went down with a weird lower leg thing again. She came back every single time. She didn't need to, but she still did. And Kansas started the second half on an 11-1 run, and then ended on an 11-1 run as well. BYU, they brought it within 4, I believe, relatively late. Then Kansas just goes on a tear there towards the end. So just a really impressive effort by these girls. And again, it just sucks because you look at the talent that they have and you go, how in the world are they 4-8 in conference play?
Well, that's the nice thing about basketball compared to football is you still have an opportunity. Kansas can continue to get better, and you're going to have postseason. You win the Big 12 tournament, and you have an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. Easier said than done. We'll talk some schedule things, but yeah, KU, 38 defensive rebounds. That's the most in a game this season. They also hit 23 free throws, which was the second most in a game this season, as they had 26 against Colorado their last time out. Lily Meister, by the way, had 10 and 8. So in addition to Jalea hitting the glass with a career-high 12 rebounds, Lily Meister with 10 and 8. Nice seeing that as well. We'll talk some schedule things, but first let's go to the podium post-game. KU head women's basketball coach Brandon Schneider after the win.
Brandon, Jalea had her first double-double today, and a lot of those came kind of in the second half. She really turned on the offensive side of the ball. What'd you like out of her today?
Well, I think, her intensity level out of the locker room at halftime was terrific and also contagious. I thought, that was a big key to us getting off to a really good start. But I think her activity level on defense is something that's really improving, and it's transferring over to the offensive end as well.
And coming out of halftime, obviously you were tied at halftime. You started off the second half with an 11-1 run. Is that something that you said, or is that more player-led coming out? Like you said, her energy level was super high. I guess.
Well, it's always the players. I mean, we made some adjustments and had some points of emphasis, obviously, to start off the second half. But the players deserve the credit because they're the ones who go out and execute.
You talked a lot about rebounding earlier in the year. You out-rebound them by 18 tonight. Just what did you like off the moment glass?
Well, and because of all the three-point attempts, a lot of long rebounds, a lot of 50-50 balls, and that was something that we talked a great deal about, that, we just have to be the first one to those balls with 2 hands. And, for the most part, I thought we did a good job there.
Coach, it's National Girls and Women's in Sports Day. If you just want to touch on, the biggest growth you've seen in women's sports since you started coaching.
Wow. Well, I've been doing it a long time, and but I also I was born in 1971 to a coach. So when you think about with Title IX just being right in that era, what we've seen is incredible. And, I go back to all the pioneers that fought so hard, for more and more women and young girls to have opportunities. Those are the people that deserve the credit.
Coach Sanaya held Delaney Gibb to 1 of 13 from the field today. What did you like about her kind of face guarding her, and was that the game plan you guys kind of?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously had a plan in place, and Sanaya Copeland and Laya Canessa were a big part of that to guard her individually. But we had to play very connected defense tonight to have success, and I know she didn't make some shots, and part of that hopefully was our defense. Some of it's just the ball didn't go in the basket for her, but just as important was, only one assist because she does such a terrific job of getting everybody involved.
Coach, you guys are coming off of a couple losses. How do you plan on maintaining the momentum from this win going into the next couple games and into the rest of the season?
Yeah, you just have to focus on the next possession and play as connected as you can.
Coach, where do you see your team in the Big 12 giving you guys this record right now?
Focus on the next possession and string as many of those together so you can go win a game. We don't sugarcoat it when we talk about where we are. We know our backs are against the wall, and but there's nothing you can do about something that's 2 weeks from now. We got an off day tomorrow. We need to take care of our bodies, rest and recover, and then we need to have a great practice on Friday.
And do you feel like the team is growing like you want it to?
Well, I think tonight we could point to that. Unfortunately, in the Colorado game, we would say that we weren't consistent enough. So, we've played some really good basketball at certain times of the year. We just now have to do it, on a much more consistent basis.
You're pushing towards the end of the season. You've had a lot of time to see Julia. Have you seen a freshman play like she has this year before?
Well, I think she's as good a freshman as there is in the country, and I think that she'll probably be in the conversation for freshman of the year nationally. So that's says a lot about her growth and her development. And tonight I thought she was as complete package as we've seen all year long on both ends of the floor.
Coach, they were full court pressing you guys a lot of the game. Were you expecting that, and how do you feel they handled that tonight?
I mean, at times we didn't handle it well, in particular when Samaya wasn't in the game. But yes, they pick up full court, token pressure really all the time, but then obviously they were behind and they had to turn up the heat.
Coach, another big conference matchup on Saturday following the men playing Utah. Just what are you looking forward to most this weekend in that doubleheader?
Well, it's something that we've worked on for many years. And my hope is that our student fan base and our community will come out and do what they always do for Coach Self and the guys at 1:30, and we'd like for them to plan to be here through about 6:30. It's a really important game for us, and we could use everybody's support.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Well, that one had to be a breath of fresh air for Coach Brandon as the KU women desperately needed a win, and they got to keep doing so. They've got Cincinnati, another middling team in the conference at home. That's going to be Saturday at 4:30. Very strange how that's going to work for the post-game locker room show for David Lawrence and I, because game KU men is at 1:30 Saturday, and then we go on air for the post-game locker room show about 4, and then David, as you know, does color for the Kansas women for home games alongside Stephen Davis. And they're tipping off at 4:30.
Yeah.
So
it's gonna be a long day for David.
it will be a long day for David. It'll be interesting having the girls warm up too after the game. But
if you're going to the KU game on Saturday, stick around for the KU women's game because they are fun. Like it's fun to watch. Like watching Jalea, you're like, man, that's like a generational talent. Same with Samaya.
She's awesome, and KU obviously will do everything in their power to keep Julia Davis, as she's had a fantastic freshman season. Yeah, so Cincinnati, that one Kansas has to win. If they win that, they're 5-8. The problem is, you look at the schedule, you got to play Texas Tech twice in your final 5 games. Texas Tech ranked 18th in the country. How about the jump they've had NIL-wise? Texas Tech and Kansas faced off last year in the Big 12 tournament on the women's side. That was an 11 versus 14 game. Texas Tech now is a top 20 team in the country.
Yeah.
They're 18th in the country. KU goes to Lubbock. Then KU hosts Houston. That's a bottom-feeding team Kansas should beat. So there's theoretically 6 wins. You go to K-State. You could beat them. Then if that happens, maybe you're 7-9. Then you get a host Texas Tech and then go to Oklahoma State, who's also good. So maybe you're looking at semi-realistic. Kansas could get to 8-10. But as we talked about, the most important thing is that in basketball, you have a chance to stack up wins and get an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. That is the goal for pretty much any team. And there's no reason to believe Kansas can't get hot and do that. They lost to Iowa State at the buzzer. They lost to TCU by 2 in Fort Worth. They've proven that they can keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, you look at all these games and you go, those are winnable games. But you still have to win those games, like you said, with Iowa State, with TCU. The talent is there to be able to keep up with these nationally recognized teams. It's just Kansas hasn't been able to do that, and they haven't been able to close it out because the scoring disparity has been so little. You're not getting enough out of Libby. You're not getting enough out of Elle. You're not getting enough out of, Keeley or Laya or any of the girls coming off of the bench. So you really got to step it up, and it starts with Cincinnati on Saturday. You feel okay just in terms of Kansas playing on the road against a ranked team. The last 2 ranked teams that they played on the road were really close games. You got to be able to close that one out against Texas Tech, obviously. You're looking at these next 3 games thinking you have to go at least 2-1. If you lose to Texas Tech on the road by a few points, that's still relatively good. You got to be able to win out, right? You got to beat K-State in Bramlage. You beat them by 21 the last time that they were in town. Got to be Texas Tech when you're hosting them, and you got to be Oklahoma State as well to close out the season. Right now, you're looking at this thinking, all right, it's either win out or you have to win the Big 12 tournament in order to make the NCAA.
Well, yeah, you got Texas Tech twice, but to your point, you also have K-State, who's 5-6, Cincinnati, who's 3-8, and Houston, who's 1-10. So you got to at least win
Houston's
those.
terrible.
And you got to find a way to beat Texas Tech once. If Kansas is able to beat Texas Tech once, and say you go, what would that be? Kansas wins. Let's see, the other team I didn't mention is Oklahoma State. So if you beat Texas Tech once, or if you beat Oklahoma State, then you could get to that 8-10 record like I talked about. But a little bit of a tougher road to hoe than we hope, but certainly the talent is there. They could go on a run. Real quick, let's hear from some Kansas women at the podium postgame. 81-60 over BYU last night in Allen Fieldhouse. It is Julia Davis and Sanaya Copeland.
You're a double-double. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I mean, just going out there and executing all the things that I've been working on, playing with a lot of energy. That's something that was really important for me.
It's National Girls and Women in Sports Day. I mean, both of you, how does it feel to, be representing women's sports on a court like in Allen Fieldhouse like you did tonight?
Yeah, it's so special to be in Allen Fieldhouse regardless, but to be representing young girls is even more special to me, especially being from Kansas, seeing all those young girls out there who look up to us. And we just want to set a good example for them.
Yeah, I think it's just really cool to be able to execute in Allen Fieldhouse, where the game was made. So just being able to show out for everybody who came.
Julia, you played a lot of ball, had a lot of teammates, been on a lot of teams. How important is it to have someone like Cope on a team?
Cope's a really big presence for us. I mean, she's always there to guard the best player on the other team. She's always there. She's ready to make the passes. She's not really caring about her own stats. You can't really see what she's doing in her stat sheet, but she makes a really big impact for our team.
What's one thing you wish she did more?
I think she should shoot the ball more. I think she doesn't shoot the ball enough, and she has a really good shot.
Thank you.
You guys started off the second half on 11-1 run, also ended the second half on 11-1 run. What was the message, I guess, that Brandon gave you coming out of halftime and maybe to close out that game?
Yeah, he basically said to just limit fast break points and to just get our energy up. And like you saw, Julia really did that. She came out and just gave it to them honestly, and we all followed her.
Obviously, you guys are coming off of a few losses. How do you plan on maintaining this momentum going into your next couple games?
Yeah, I think it's really important for us to maintain this. I mean, season's coming to a close soon, so just being able to keep building on wins is really important.
What is mindset? Are you trying not to look too far down the road and say we got to win X number of games? It's just stay in front of you, or what are you guys thinking?
I think it's a little bit of both. Obviously, we want to go far and make the tournament, so we obviously have to think about that. But regardless, we're going to take it game by game, possession by possession.
So now, what's it been like watching Julia do all these things? 5 weeks straight, Big 12 freshman, and now double tonight. Just watching her do what she does best.
She's just a star, and she really puts the work in, and we all see that. So I'm really proud of her, and she's gonna keep going. So.
Samaya went out a couple of times, obviously something with the lower leg, but she was able to come back in both of those times. Talk about kind of her toughness and the leadership aspect, I guess, of a player like that being able to come back.
Yeah, Samaya, she fights for us. She doesn't do it for herself, she does it for the team, and everybody sees that, and we all just really are admirable of her.
Yeah, I think she's really just a dog. I mean, she puts herself at risk to come and lead our team. She has a really big role, so she knows that she needs to come in and help us out.
You guys out-rebounded them 49-31. Just what was going well for you guys on the glass tonight?
Jalea, I mean, she had a double-double. No, I think we were really boxing out. Lily, Elle, we all were contributing to get those defensive rebounds.
Yeah, same thing. I think just being able to get our energy up really helped us get those rebounds also.
Where do you all see the season going and you guys' play going moving forward with this bounce back win?
We're just looking to take it game by game, hope get another win, like she said, add on to these wins.
Julia, you had 23 points in the second half. What changed for you offensively?
I think I just wasn't really playing with the amount of energy that I needed to in the first half. So obviously after halftime, I kind of just really put that on my back and kept going.
Cope, when you talk about looking down the road a little bit, but also taking it game by game, where's the confidence of the team as far as what you guys can still accomplish? And have you seen it kind of shaken any, or have you stayed up with your confidence?
I think we've stayed up with our confidence. Regardless of our record, we know that we can compete with anybody in this conference. So, like we said, taking game by game.
BYU only shot 30% from the field. I guess defensively, what was the message coming into this game? What was the mindset? I mean, you held Gibb to only 1 for 13 from the field.
I mean, obviously she's a really big part of their team, so being able to take her out the game was really important for us. She went, 1 for 13, that's a really big stat. So Cope did a really good job taking her away and just making her play with other people.
We really just executed our game plan. I couldn't have done it without them as well. I got backdoored a couple times, but they were always there to help me. So it was a team effort.
All right, thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
That's Jalea Davis and Sanaya Copeland at the podium postgame. Nice night last night for the Kansas women, 81-60, plus 21 on the scoreboard, plus 21 on the scoreboard in the second half. It was tied at 32, but they got it done. Much needed win. Next up for the Kansas women, they host Cincinnati Saturday in the Fog at 4:30. After this, we're talking Kansas football with head coach Lance Leipold. But before we do that, Dan, tell us about Crown Automotive, our founding partners with us here at Kansas Nation.
Love to tell you about Crown Automotive. They sell new Toyotas and Volkswagens, two of the best cars for your money. Talk about longevity, talk about safety, talk about, emissions, just two of the best car brands that you can buy. And the salespeople are great. Sean and I are both looking for cars right now. We're doing our research, but Crown Automotive is our go-to to go and check out these new cars. And also, if they don't have what you want, they have used cars as well. They can get you in the car that you need to fit your lifestyle. So check out Crown Automotive. It's crownautomotive.com.
Or on South Iowa here in Lawrence. Big shout out to Miles Schneider and his team. After this, Lance Leipold at the podium yesterday over at the Anderson Family Complex. Rock Chalk Sports, kansasnation.com, ESPN, Kansas City. Going to hear from head football coach Lance Leipold here very shortly. Going to hear from him 2 times today on Rock Chalk Sports. Extended press conference yesterday, and our only regret is we didn't get a chance to ask him about more of the players for Kansas football. Hopefully, very soon we get a chance to talk to him again. But a lot of Andy Kotelnicki talk and how the offense is going to work from a coaching standpoint. Coach Leipold, as you'll hear here very shortly, saying that Coach K will indeed be calling the plays, something he's done for over 2 decades. Excited for that. Not a surprise. You bring back somebody who's had so much success and somebody who's worked with Coach Leipold for a long time. Should be good vibes, good energy, and of course, Jim Zabrowski, Matt Lubick remain on staff as well for the Kansas offense. KansasNation.com is the place to be. A special new Jayhawker episode with Nate Bukaty featuring KU Director of Athletics and Vice Chancellor Travis Goff. Check that out. KansasNation.com, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Also, check out Between Two Fountains with Greg Gurley and Mick Schaefer. They go beyond just Kansas athletics. They talk a lot of things Kansas City. Mick Schaefer, of course, the sports director for KSHB 41 over in KC. We also have Hanni and the Hawks. We're going to have Brian in studio here very shortly. Legends of Kansas with Brandon McAnderson and Chris Harris. Haven't had a new one of those in a while, obviously, since football season wrapped up, but those will be kicking off, I'd imagine, very shortly. And Rock Chalk Sports.
Yeah. Rock Chalk Sports.
Yeah.
And be sure to check us out all over our social media pages, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at the Kansas Nation on Facebook, as well as on YouTube as well. All of our shows will be posted on our YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud. Anywhere you get your podcasts, you can hear all of those everywhere. So be sure to check out KansasNation.com. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, whatever you can do to spread the good word about Kansas Nation.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. Let's go to the podium yesterday at the football building. Here's head coach Lance Leipold.
What were the conversations like with Andy getting to come back, and what's it like having him back now?
Well, first of all, it's great to have Andy back. We were together a long time. It didn't take very long for me to reflect back on just certain things that Andy brings to the program each and every day, and ideas, thoughts, challenging ways of looking at things, a lot of different things, energy. After the season, looking at a lot of different things, obviously the change at Penn State. I think most of you know Andy and I have stayed in contact, throughout the last couple of years, and as we progressed, just talking about it, kind of his, what was the next thing. I kind of floated it out there, that depending on how things shook out, that I would be very interested in finding a role here for him. Obviously, there's contractual things that you have to go through to make sure that he was not employed there anymore. Andy had a lot of opportunities, and I'll say it now, I'll say it again, that Andy Kolnicki will be a head coach someday, and probably someday soon. And he had opportunities to explore some of those again. But as we talked about it, and it got a little more serious about things, about how it would work out, a lot of different things. So it took a while, and then it gets into the contractual things, and we finally got it worked out, right after the first of the year or something like that, right after their bowl game. We were able to, it was about maybe 36-hour turnaround from getting it done for him to be in this building, and he was ready to go, and reminded me right back to the first time I hired Andy back in 2013. He interviewed, offered him the job, he accepted it, he drove all the way back to Bismarck, North Dakota, and turned around and came back to Whitewater, Wisconsin in under 48 hours to get to work, and that's the type of guy that he is. On that note, and I'm sure it's going to come up next, but one of the first things Andy talked about as we progress in this was how was Jim going to be, and how that was, and he wanted to make sure that Jim was here and that they would continue to work together. So.
Yeah, so with his title, with Andy's title as associate head coach, what does that entail week to week?
Week to week, he, again, heavily involved in what we're doing offensively and be involved in play calling and doing things of that nature. But again, more than probably the first time around of being a right-hand man to me in many different things that are, when time will allow, to move our program forward. I mean, a lot of different things of, obviously, when somebody else is in another program, ideas of how things were done and things like that. But whether it be with any other staff additions, evaluations, things like that. He'll be involved with me in a lot of different things. Again, I can't say there's going to be a ton of difference than when it was when he was here as a coordinator and as an associate head coach before, but probably a little more in depth in some areas. But yeah, he'll be extremely involved offensively, but it'll probably spread more programmatically than it did before.
When you say involved in play calling, do you mean on game, like, is Jim still
Yeah,
play caller?
you know, Andy will be the play caller, okay, and you know, that's not going to be a secret very long. So I mean, but again, as far as Jim's going to be a passing game coordinator, heavily involved. Matt's going to be involved again, and again, I think a lot of times some titles are very direct, some are very much vague in what they do. Game plans are put together on a weekly basis by an offensive staff. Everybody has input and roles. I think there'll be definitive things that we'll work on that, you know, Matt will be heavily involved in our, and he has been since he was an analyst, our option game, okay, and Jim and Matt will be involved in red zone and things like that, but ultimate terminology, day-to-day things of where it's at, Andy will have the final say.
Lance, it's the offseason, so I'm going to connect one for you. If you look around the NFL, these head coaching openings, a lot of them are offensive-minded guys that are getting these jobs. I wonder, you know, defense wins championships and all that, but bringing a guy like Andy back in a bigger picture of the sport, the game of football, how important is it to continue to move your offense forward, whatever that means and however that looks?
Well, it's extremely important. I mean, again, we look at a lot of different things that, you know, where we were after the season on both sides of the ball. We have to get better on both sides of the ball. You know, as I've said in multiple meetings with different people, it could be administratively, it could be within our building and our staff, it could be maybe with one of you or anyone else that I may talk with. We all can sit there and we could pick out 3 or 4 plays and some of the things that everybody's like wanting change and wanting certain things to happen, we would not even be talking about those. The margins are very small. We've said that for 5 years in here, and it continues to be small. But at the same time, we have to progress, and I can't stick my head in the sand on it and find ways for us to make our offense and our defense better. If Andy wasn't available, we would have stayed status quo. And I've said this before, we had 2 first-year coordinators. I would think everybody in this room was better at their job the second year than they were the first year. But across, right, Henry? You're smiling. You know,
It's relatable.
It's relatable, right? But what happens is, what I've also done, and I probably shouldn't even go in this route, but I will for a couple seconds, is for those of you, and I think a couple of you are social media people pretty good, right, Michael? Yeah. And okay, and so any given Sunday or Saturday or whatever, start looking at the names of the coordinators and head coaches of a losing team during the course of a game. You can do it in basketball. We're in a society right now where we want everything instantly and we want change right away when something doesn't go right. And I wasn't about that, and I've never been about that, and I won't be about that. I understand what we're up against. I know we have to get better. We'll continue to evaluate what we're doing. But at the end, yeah, it is about offensive. You know, there's some things, and there's things that we didn't get better. We weren't good in the red zone. We didn't do things. We turned the ball over late in the game when we had chances to beat a ranked football team to close out the season. Very unfortunate. But we all know that that's what college football is right now. It's very close, and we have to find ways to continue to get better. And the thing that I'm excited about with Andy is that people want to come back to Kansas. We walked into a program where people couldn't wait to get out of here fast enough. There's some smiles in the room. Okay? And also with that, we have changed the expectations in this program. And now they're harder to match. And we have to match them. And we will match them. And we understand that part of that success has changed how we go about things. So again, all those are good things. Those are good things to embrace. And I think our staff and with the addition of Andy and some other small things that we're doing, I think we're going to be as good as we've ever been in that regard. Now, the way this conference is, the way college football is, what does that equate to? That'll be determined in the fall.
How has Jim handled the transition?
Jim, I can't thank Jim enough for his professionalism, how he's gone about it. He understood it, and when I told Jim my decision and what I was doing, his first and really only question is, do I still get to coach the quarterbacks? And that's what and that's what I love about Jim, and I've said if you've known Jim long enough, if Jim wasn't coaching at the University of Kansas, and he also said how much he loves it here, his family loves it here, his daughter just graduated from here, Jim would go coach at the middle school and enjoy every second of it as he does here because he's a football coach. And that's what he wanted to make sure. I assured him that he had a position. I'm sure that he and Andy, that Andy wanted him here, that there wasn't a thing where he wanted a wholesale. And that can be uncomfortable. But Jim is about us being the best program we can be, and he's handled it extremely well. And looking forward to those two to collaborate together.
You guys got to know Dylan Edwards really well through the recruiting process when he was a high school kid. He came up and visited, you recruited him. What were those conversations like, and how did that go once he hit the transfer portal? How did he wind up at Kansas?
Yeah, we received a call about if there was interest. There was one that I could probably say I was monitoring it, from afar about where it was happening. Obviously, it wasn't the season he wanted last year, battling the injury, but obviously we did our background search with former members of the Kansas State staff to get background on what as best we could about what maybe transpired. Went through, we asked him to come down. I think many of you know this story already, but I'll say it for the record, is he came down here unofficially. We spent a lot of time. He had a lot to sort through. And, we tried to recruit Dylan out of high school. Partially when he went in the portal the first time, there was things there that Devin was still here, and that he didn't feel was a match for him that time. But there was interest that, of course, this time around, and talk about that, we all want this to work, and we all want the best for Dylan and where it's at. And, then he came on the official visit with his parents, and, we're at this point, and we're excited to have him. He's excited to be back around a football team and working hard. He's, I think, extremely humble and determined to be healthy, get healthy, and get himself in a position to help our football team. And there's no other agenda other than that for him to try to reach and play his best football and to help our football team.
You talked a little bit about coordinators, just like everybody, being better in the second year that they do something. Mm-hmm. What's the optimism level on the defense with DK McDonald returning, but also a lot of guys who played under DK McDonald last year and having their second year in the system along with that?
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about a lot of things, guys. I've been told about how disappointing last year was in defense, and sometimes I pause and go, we had a whole new back seven. Okay, and there's growing pains with that. And one thing that I've talked about here and different things was we got to communicate better. We got to talk. And again, there's lot more schematic changes than I ever let on in this room, because there was. And I gave DK the latitude to do that, and I think it will be beneficial for us in the long run. Again, through that and, new corners, safeties and that. Now we return a few more that have played, and I think I really like the bodies that we've, and the people that we've added in the portal that'll give us a chance to take a step defensively, again, to be the team we want to be. Again, we can think of a play, maybe the Cincinnati game. We could think of a couple plays in the Arizona game. And again, we got to coach better, but we can go through any of those and probably the last game of the year, one or two more stops or one more turnovers. We're not sitting there questioning as much as we have been. Now, being more consistent, making those plays and doing that is what we have to do this time around.
That's KU head football coach Lance Leipold yesterday. We're going to hear more from Coach Leipold a little later in the show. But coming up after this, whether you're throwing back some chicken wings like Dan and myself or a veggie tray like the California Kid, Super Bowl will be a great time. We're going to talk Seahawks Patriots coming up next here on Rock Chalk Sports, KansasNation.com, ESPN, Kansas City. Well, nobody waves the wheat quite like Dan Courtwright. Got to tell you about our friends at Central Bank. There's a certain energy that comes with Jayhawk basketball. The crowd rising together, the band playing, and the unmistakable moment when fans lift their arms and wave the wheat. It's a tradition that represents pride, unity, and Jayhawk spirit. With Jayhawk checking from Central Bank, that tradition does not stop when the game ends. Jayhawk fans can carry their pride wherever they go with the official Jayhawk debit card, a simple way to show school spirit every day. Central Bank is proud to support the traditions and communities that bring people together, and as the proud community banking partner of the University of Kansas, Central Bank is committed to serving Jayhawk fans with banking options designed for real life, on campus, at work, and everywhere in between. If you're ready to wave the wheat beyond the stands, learn more about Jayhawk Checking and the exclusive debit card at jayhawkchecking.com. That's jayhawkchecking.com. Central Bank, the proud community banking partner of the University of Kansas, member FDIC. Hey, before Hanni gets here to talk all things KU and why his Patriots are going to, in fact, be victorious on Sunday, let's break down Seahawks Patriots Super Bowl 60. Of course, a rematch of Super Bowl 49 when Marshawn Lynch didn't get the football. Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, they throw the football. Malcolm Butler intercepts it, and the Patriots win again. Now, will the Seahawks get their revenge? We'll have to wait and see.
By the way, the Seattle Seahawks, that was Super Bowl 49, excuse me. The Seahawks ran that exact same pass play like 5 different times in the red zone, and or maybe it was 2-point conversions, and they converted every single time. So that was their set play. Now, granted, they ran it every single time.
Marshawn Lynch was the best running back in the league.
I'm aware. I get it. But also, like, that play's success rate was so high, and Malcolm Butler just happened to be there, and he read it well. And
he read it well.
That's good on them for watching film. They understood that that's going to be their go-to play whenever they're in that situation. But it was a good play call, I think. Obviously, everyone and their mother thought that Marshawn Lynch was going to get the ball. That's why it had such a high success rate, that pass play. I don't blame, like, that's not bad coaching. I think that's a good play call because it worked so much. But it's also just, again, good coaching on the Patriots for understanding the situation that they were in, where they're going to make us think that Marshawn Lynch is getting the ball and they're going to pass it.
Yeah, I guess. But like you said, Wilson shouldn't have thrown the ball. Obviously, you got to read the defense, and Butler was all over it. But what I remember most from that Super Bowl, honestly, is Marshawn Lynch's press conference where he was just there so he wouldn't get fined.
Yeah.
Just said that over and over. He said, you guys can ask whatever questions you want. I'm going to give you the same answer every time. And somebody said, what's the answer going to be? He said, I'm just here so I won't get fined.
It's great.
And then anytime he was asked a question, I'm just here so I won't get fined. Man. Every time. Oh, so good. Obviously required to be in front of the press.
Yeah.
Didn't necessarily want to do that. But
did he still get fined after that?
Patriots, did he?
I don't know.
He better not have. He showed up.
He was there.
He showed up. He gave answers. Patriots won that one. Obviously, one of Tom Brady's 7 Super Bowl championships. And now there's a different signal caller in New England. Drake May dealing with some shoulder stuff. Dan, what's the latest as far as you know regarding that, and how does that affect how you think this game is going to go? Seahawks are 4.5-point favorites. It opened at 3.5, and the money's gone on the Seabirds.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the entire nation is on the Seahawks in this one, which
it really does.
I can't blame them, because nobody wants to see the Patriots win another Super Bowl. And B, because the Seattle Seahawks defense is one of the better defenses that I've seen in the last probably 5 years. Their defense is so good. They have DeMarcus Lawrence. You look at their secondary, it's so good as well. You look at Devon Witherspoon, who Kansas actually saw at Illinois, and everybody was talking about him being like, man, that guy's a future NFL guy. And now he's really, really good. You look at oh my gosh, what is their other corner's name? Number 27, who had a bad penalty in the NFC. Huh?
You talking about Woolen?
Yeah. Tariq Woolen.
Yeah.
Or he goes by Reek now.
Reek
Woolen.
Great name.
Yeah, he had a bad penalty and then gave up a touchdown to the Rams in the NFC Championship game. Didn't matter because they wound up winning, but still, he's a really, really solid corner. So their defense is spectacular, the Seattle Seahawks. And you look at the Patriots offensive line. Patriots offensive line is depleted, and they are terrible. And when you add in Drake May having the shoulder injury that he does, now Sam Darnold does have an oblique injury, or he has an oblique, as Henry Greenstein would say. Just he has at least
oblique.
one.
He's out with a knee.
Yeah. So obviously that's challenging. You have two quarterbacks facing injuries. Drake Mays, I think, is a little bit worse. That's just because of the fact that I think he's going to be running for his life because the defensive line and the pressure that the Seattle Seahawks bring is going to be so immense that I just think they're going to be all over him like stink on poop. You know what I mean? So that's just the way that I can see this going. I understand it. The weapons I think that Seattle has on the offensive side of the ball are better than the weapons that the Patriots have on their offensive side of the ball too. You look at Kayshon Boutte, who's good. You look at Stephon Diggs, who's good, but old. But then you look at Rashid Shaheed, who is so fast and, kind of proving that he can be that guy, that go-to guy. He had the kickoff return in the NFC Championship game to open it up. You look at Kenneth Walker in the running back room. Obviously Zachary Charbonnet is not going to be playing in this game, but still, I just think the Seattle Seahawks are a much more sound and a better team, I guess, holistically than the Patriots are. And it's, I'm saying this not just because I hate the Patriots, but I'm saying this because I think the Seattle Seahawks are a much better team. And you look before the season, and I think this is actually true, preseason odds, this is like the most unlikely Super Bowl matchup that there ever has been.
Yeah, and it's number 60.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's been 60 Super Bowls up to this point, and this is the most unlikely Super Bowl to ever happen. I mean, hell, you look at the Patriots, they lost to the Raiders in week 1. After week 1, you're thinking there's no way. There's absolutely no way. You look at Sam Darnold as the quarterback for the Seahawks, and you go, okay, he's a little better than Geno Smith, I guess, but that doesn't mean that they're going to do anything. The NFC North or the NFC West, is so good that you just don't see the Seahawks doing anything. All of a sudden, they're the 1 seed. It's just the most improbable thing. It's weird to not see the Chiefs in it. Obviously, it's weird to not see some of the prolific teams that you've seen over the last 5 years not be in it and have these two teams that have changed guards so much since the last time that they were in the Super Bowl be back in it. Drake May is still really good. He's in MVP conversations, but still, I think with the offensive line and with the shoulder injury, it's just going to be a tough day for him.
Well, you don't have a dog in the fight. I don't have a dog in the fight.
No.
Tom Brady does not have a dog in the fight.
Right.
More on that tomorrow in sports stock market. But for what it's worth, Drake May saying recently, quote, "The shoulder feels great. That's why you have guys in the training room. My guy, Zach, Mike, there's been multiple people in there working on getting me healthy, and I'm feeling great to go," end quote. Mike Vrabel doing a lot of chatting about how they're just playing it from a cautionary standpoint. Understandable with the extra week in between the AFC Championship game and the Super Bowl, but that goes down Sunday at 5:30. We'll have a game pick on that tomorrow. Dan has the most ridiculous $5 parlay I've ever seen.
It pays out $430.
That he's going to tell you about tomorrow. It's ridiculous. Who puts a first touchdown score on a 4-leg parlay?
I told you about this. I'm going to say this on air. Over the last however many Super Bowls, there's been a lot of Super Bowls. I'm not going to give you a number for other reasons, but I've won like $400 every single Super Bowl except for one on gambling. And then on the one that I didn't win $400 on, I won Super Bowl Square, so I won like $250.
And as we know, the best predictor of the future is the past, so there's no reason to believe that won't happen again. Absolutely.
Super Bowl is the Super Bowl is my gambling Super Bowl.
After this, we are going to be joined in studio by the voice of the Jayhawks, Brian Hanni. He will talk, he'll let us know if he has a favorite or a team that he's rooting for in Super Bowl 60, and talk a little KU hoops and KU football as well. Rock Chalk Sports, KansasNation.com, ESPN, Kansas City. Welcome back here live in the Kansas Nation studio for Rock Chalk Sports, KansasNation.com, ESPN, Kansas City. Sean Kellerman, Dan Courtwright, going to be joined in studio by Brian Hanni. First, got to tell you about our friends over at Game Day Men's Health Lawrence in West Lawrence. If you are feeling low on energy, don't have the jolt that you need to be with your family, go to work, go to the gym, that sort of thing, they can help you out over at Game Day Men's Health Lawrence. It's a comfortable setting. They've got drinks, they've got snacks, they've got a really fun and friendly staff. And your first visit, completely complimentary. 3-step process. They'll give you a blood draw. If you're feeling like you might have low T, you struggle with ED, as 60% of guys do at some point in their life, check them out over at Game Day Men's Health Lawrence. Again, a complimentary first visit. They can answer your questions. No reason to not check them out. Mitch Bales and his team do great work over there, and appreciate their partnership here at Kansas Nation. All right, let's bring on the voice of the Jayhawks, Brian Hanni. BH, well, we got to talk all things KU, but first, we just got done talking Super Bowl. I talked about Dan's ridiculous parlay that he's going to apparently throw $5 at down the line. But do you have a dog in the fight for Seahawks Patriots in Super Bowl 60? I know at times you're clandestine about teams that you root for, but your thoughts on this one? America tends to like the Seahawks. It opened at 3.5, and now it's 4.5. And I don't know. They think the Seabirds are going to run away with it. What are your thoughts? And do you have a favorite?
Yeah, a lot of national folks think that this won't be a close game. And a lot of casuals, which is 90% of football watching America, have only seen Drake May in the 3 postseason games against 3 top 5 defenses, 2 of the 3 games in the snow, 1 half in an absolute blizzard in which neither team could throw the football. And these casuals that didn't watch the first 17 games of the year, a guy that 8 out of 11 ESPN MVP voters said Drake May should have been the MVP over Stafford. We'll actually find out tonight on the NFL Awards show. And I know the folks that are prognosticators in the betting realm think that Stafford, Stat Padford, by the way, is going to get it based on the touchdown totals. And by the way, he set the NFL record this year in touchdown passes from the 1-yard line.
Oh my gosh.
And look at the Week 18 game when Drake was pulled with 13 minutes to go in the fourth quarter because the Pats were up so big on Miami. And the Rams were up 3 touchdowns on Arizona and still throwing from the 1-yard line for Pat Stafford. That's great, by the way. But if you can't tell, I'm a big Drake May fan. I had a chance to meet him at the draft a couple of years ago. Just amazing kid, like deflects any iota of praise. When they won the AFC Championship, they had him up on stage to be interviewed by Jim Nantz, and he's like, I don't want to be up here if the offensive line isn't going to be up here. Like, he just feels uncomfortable, praise being heaped upon him. Love the kid, love his game. And so I think you're picking up what I'm putting down here. I know Mr. Self-proclaimed Super Bowl gambling expert over here is all in on the Birds. I actually think, and I can't do any of the gambling stuff, by the way, so don't take this as any type of advice. But as somebody that did watch all 20 games of Drake May this year, I think the NFL casuals are about to see on a 64-degree, clear and sunny game time temperature weather setting what Drake May folks saw all season long.
Right.
And now, here's something else to put in your pipe and smoke. It's the Seahawks, a lot has been made this week of this cover 6 coverage where you have quarters on one side of the field and cover 2 on the other side, and there's limited pockets. It's a confusing formation and scheme that Sean McDermott and the Bills did in the second meeting with May. He beat him in the first meeting. And in the second half of the second meeting, he didn't produce a lot. And a lot of teams copied that down the stretch. And so there's a book out there that maybe this is how you beat Drake May. We'll see. But also keep in mind, teams that have copied that in the postseason have had some of the most elite edge rushers. And Seattle does have a good front four. But it was also snow games. Okay?
Yeah, true.
So my big thing as to why I think the Patriots can win is that everybody's talking about Seattle D. They're not talking enough about the New England D. And everybody's talking about Drake underperforming in the playoffs. But if you watch the games, I mean, ask your boy Matt Tate. He was actually in Denver. The snow was not only coming down in buckets, the wind was blowing sideways. You're not going to throw for 300 yards. I'm sorry. So I think it's going to be a good game. Am I worried about the shoulder? Yes. But he seems to have put that to bed. And if anything has surfaced this week in terms of health, it's the Pro Bowl safety of the Seahawks rolling his ankle in practice yesterday, which would be a major advantage for New England. So I won't get into point spreads and that kind of stuff. I can't. But I think it's going to be a good game. And if you're asking for just a straight-up pick, I think the Pats get the 7th title for them.
Right. Totally unbiased, by the way.
There you are. Yeah, well,
no, I mean, it's out there. I'm a huge Drake May fan. This young man just impresses me so much. This is the last thing I'll say on it because we've got to talk KU. It's what the show's all about. But when you work in athletics, and they say sometimes don't meet your heroes, you'll just be disappointed. A lot of times, and this isn't the case at Kansas, but it's a lot of case with professional sports, you meet pros that you kind of wish you hadn't met because the head's so big it won't fit through the door, or it's all about me, or in this day and age of everybody's got their brand and all that stuff. This guy is just, humble, selfless, deflecting of praise. Those are the Jayhawks I love to cheer for. Those are the pro guys I love to root for. And so he's an easy one to cheer for if you don't have a dog in the fight on Sunday.
Absolutely. Well, I don't, and I guess I got to get back to, low stress. I guess that's a plus.
Yeah.
But
just eat your wings, drink your beer, and
chicken
enjoy
wings
the game.
And beer, and
nice.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it should be fun. That's what I thought the Super Bowl was for the first 25 years of my life. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, my team was playing in it, and that was fun. And now it's kind of a dose of reality here. But that's going down 5:30. Seahawks, Pats. More on that tomorrow on Rock Chalk Sports. Brian, let's talk Kansas football really quick because we got to hear from Coach Leipold, Coach Kotelnicki yesterday. I don't think it's a shock, but maybe the most tweeted about thing was Coach Leipold saying that Coach K will be indeed calling the plays. He comes back as the associate head coach, not the offensive coordinator. Of course, Jim Zebrowski, Matt Lubick will both be heavily involved. But, man, he's just got a great aura about him, does Coach K, and excited to see what KU can do offensively.
He really does. He just instills a lot of confidence, whether you're sitting in the room as a media member, sitting in the stands as a fan, or you're in that team room looking at the game day game plan. He's a guy that I think is so creative, not only with what you see once the ball is hiked, but the pre-snap formations, the trickeration, all the extra wrinkles, sometimes which is just a whole bunch of window dressing, but it keeps the defense on their heels. It keeps the opposition guessing. But he's also aggressive. And keep in mind, he was involved in helping recruit the quarterback that more than likely is your front runner heading into the spring. And whether Zeke Marshall wins the job or not, he worked with Cole Ballard as well, and they're excited about some of the pieces they brought in for competition around him. So I think that, we should be really bullish about this offense's chances, especially when you talk about some of the firepower they brought in at running back and receiver. But coming off a couple of years where, admittedly, we've fallen short of where we expected to be, and admittedly, haven't kept up with the new expectation. Lance was very forthright in saying, hey, look how far we've come. But that also means the bar's kind of been raised for what we set out to do each year. And I thought that was really well said. You kind of needed a jolt, right? And I think this is the exact type of jolt in terms of his credibility within the fan base, his confidence that he immediately injects into that locker room. And you're able to keep Jim Zebrowski around, who has proven to be a tremendous quarterbacks coach and a great mind to have in that offensive room when you're coming up with ideas and all that too. And I think that was a key component that both Lance and Coach Kotelnicki talked about was, how's Jim going to react to this? Is he still all in? And the fact that he was so selfless to accept that role of, primarily working with the quarterbacks and letting Andy do the play calling regardless of what the titles say, really speaks to what a team player Jim Zebrowski is and what at a core, just a football guy he is. Kotelnicki went as far as saying, and maybe Lance said it, I can't remember, it was a long press conference, but if he had to go coach a middle school in Lawrence High, or in Lawrence, let's say he's at South Middle School or something, which I guess now is
Billy Mills.
Billy Mills, yes.
Yeah.
They've changed names over the years.
Yeah.
He would be just as enthusiastic and coaching up those young men just as hard because he loves football that much. And that says a lot about the character and the dedication of Jim Zebrowski.
100%. And as a media member, that was my first time being in the same room as Andy Kotelnicki, and I fell in love with him right away. I was like, oh my gosh, this is just a ultimate football guy, a guy you want to grab like 10 beers with, just a super cool guy. I wanted to talk to you more about football. Obviously, there's a lot of storylines, and it was a long press conference, like you said, and didn't really get to a lot of the players with Lance until towards the end of the press conference. He rolled through them kind of quickly, and I don't want to make you roll through everybody, but talk about, because this is really going to be, I think, the first time that we're going to be able to talk kind of on record with you about this recruiting class and the guys who have already signed, the guys who are here on campus. Is there one or two guys maybe that stick out to you who came in as transfers who you think are really going to be able to, make an impact right away?
Well, obviously, Dylan Edwards is the one we're most excited about, and how specifically Andy Kotelnicki deploys him in more than just a straight handoff role, but him as a pass catcher out of the backfield, the various ways you can deploy that kind of weaponry, especially with dual threat options running the football, no matter who wins the job. All three of our quarterbacks have the ability to be versatile with their legs as much as their arm, and so really excited about all the different looks. And I know Coach Lubick will stay involved with some of the option concepts when it comes to scheming and all that. But I just think, when you had to say goodbye to so much of your skill position, your immediate concern turns to, okay, well, who are the primary pass catchers going to be? Who's that running back going to be? Because you lose both of your ball carriers from a year ago. And I think they knocked it out of the park. And maybe next week, not talk enough about Iowa State when we're on next week's show, but since we are winners of 6 straight in basketball and got a lot to get to, and I gave you 8 minutes on the Super Bowl, maybe we pivot hard to the Texas Tech game on Monday and what's coming up over these next 72 hours. But if you want next week, we can run through, because I'll tell you, there's some defensive guys, because we had to kind of restock in the linebacking room that I'm pretty excited about. And the coach mentioned this in the defensive front, some of the big bodies they brought in there. And we got to talk about Stroh on the offensive line and some of the other linemen to protect our quarterback, whoever it proves to be, because that was another area where you had a lot of major overhaul. Yeah. So how about we break it all down next week in greater detail, because I can tell Sean's chomping at the bit to talk about Darren Peterson. You were talking about men's health earlier, and I'm in that demographic, by the way, like mid-40s. Are you not as zesty as you once were? Do you not have as much energy? And what was our sponsor's name?
Game Day Men's Health.
But the gentleman in particular?
Mitch Bales.
Mitch. I met Mitch at one of the meet and greets we had here at Kansas Nation. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Work with Mitch if you can. If you can't, there's something else that will give you that extra charge, and it's called Darren Peterson. And for a guy in his mid-40s right now that needs a little extra boost, if it's not caffeination or it's not working with Mitch, it's Darren Peterson that gets me going, because and I'm talking about energy, because clearly, with 80 seconds to go, down 3, what we saw on what felt like a wild shot when it left his hands. In fact, my call was, Peterson, let's go of a wild one from the corner. Right. And it's just center cut perfect. Yeah. Nothing but the bottom of the net, man. It's just amazing. And then the rise and fire on the next 3 from a guy that hadn't hit a shot from the field the entire half and was having his lowest scoring output as a collegian until those last 2 shots. It just goes to show you what a gamer he is, how clutch he is. And our confidence that we were going to win that game, Greg talked about it privately off the air with about 9 minutes to go. We turned to each other and we both thought, we're going to be okay. We got this. Yeah. Because you still felt like, especially with no Christian Anderson, that we had 4 out of the best 5 players on the floor. And if Peterson got it going to any degree, there was going to be some big moment. There turned out to be 2, and obviously Melvin was a part of that. Trey was a part of that. Flory, after the game, Bill Self is saying is the best defender in America. He's a huge part of that. But it was the type of win that makes you feel like, come March, if things aren't looking great offensively, these guys can guard their tails off as the team that leads the Big 12 in field goal percentage defense, 3-point percentage defense, and block shots as well. We played some awesome defense down the stretch. They hit just one 1 of their last 12 shots. We outscore them 14-2 in the last 5:44. They had 1 bucket in their last 10 trips down the floor. We guard them at game point twice. That's the type of stuff that gets Bill Self fired up more so than Men's Health. And for me, Darren Peterson, man, the clutch factor late, those were some pretty exciting calls to get to make. So pumped about that and excited that, in the early stages of this 5-game and 15-day stretch, 4 of which against top 15 teams, we're off to a 2-0 start. We're up to a 3 seed in bracketology. We control our own destiny in the Big 12 race. And by the time I talk to you next week when we're breaking down all those football transfers, we might be right back at the top or within 1 game of the top of the Big 12 if we handle our business. And wouldn't that be exciting?
Yeah.
With what lies ahead for KU?
No doubt. Yeah, man, what a great night. And, so much to get to. Those stats that you gave regarding KU defense, and that's going to win you a lot of games. And I kind of want to go back to what you said about you and Greg. That's how I felt watching this game with DL. What a stark contrast from the past few years when Kansas Self win on Monday, because you had so many things stacked against you. You had to travel on Sunday, a top 15 team. They're mad because they had just lost on Saturday. And, we had to play 5 guys pretty much the entirety of the second half on Saturday. There's fatigue. There's that. But you found a way to win anyway. When Bill Self was winning all those championships, won 14 in a row. And, Brian, you've been here 10 years. You've seen, 5 of them or something along those lines, 5 or 6. Kansas, this is what they did, is that they were just better. They were better on the road, and all that stacked against them, they got it done. And it's a testament to the ceiling of this team.
Yeah, it really is. And, it's hard to believe what some were worried about 3 weeks ago. And I was never, for the record, ever worried about the NCAA tournament other than maybe seeding. And are we going to be in another 6 or 7 seed line spot? For those that were really scared after the West Virginia trip, probably got to tap the brakes and remember how much talent this is on this Kansas roster and who's coaching them. But to see how fast they flipped it, you knew a little bit of an ascent was coming because of the way the schedule, played out those first couple of weeks post Morgantown. But to then take that 4-game win streak and tack on 2 more against good teams with real pros like DeBonsa, like Toppin, and perform as well as they did in a hostile environment like Lubbock certainly gives you a lot of excitement on what the next 60 days could look like. And so I think back to me what was the quote of the year from Bill when he said in Morgantown, we suck right now, but it's right now. And that was the key. There have been some other famous post-game quotes that you can't say on the air from other players. But the point is, that to me was the key, because it was a guy that was frustrated. He understood there was so much more that we're capable of than we weren't showing, but he was quick to point out how much time we still have to get it right. And I don't think many of us would have thought it would look this good this quick, because there was so much uncertainty about Darren's status and all that throughout. But to sit here 3 weeks later with 6 straight wins and to feel like you're a whisker away from being right back in the conversation with Arizona for the Big 12 title goes to show you that, hey, it wasn't as bad as we thought it was. And we got pretty damn good with Bill Self as our head coach and Darren Peterson as our star. And if he keeps playing 35 minutes a night and keeps finishing games, as has been the case in 2 of his last 3 games, then, I think we could be in for one of the most memorable marches we've had around here. And for a team that hasn't made it to the second weekend since that national championship run, we're due for it. And we're excited about it. And buckle up, man. This is going to be a fun 60 days ahead.
100%. Brian Hanni, voice of the Jayhawks, joins us here in studio. I want to talk to you about the path forward, because leading up to February, that was just what was on our minds is, oh my God, look at February. You got Arizona twice. You got Houston, right? You're in Ames at Iowa State. They're obviously going to be hungry after Kansas, kind of kicked their teeth in here at Allen Fieldhouse. It started with BYU. Then obviously, you beat Texas Tech at Texas Tech. You're looking at the beginning of February going, man, this is, has started kind of not the way that we anticipated. Henry said it yesterday, where not a lot of KU fans were coming into this Texas Tech game thinking, let's chalk that one up as a win. Everyone kind of assumed that's probably a loss. You're probably losing at the McHale Center. Ames is going to be tough. now Kansas has a ton of momentum, I guess, in terms of, and you kind of touched on seed lines, but just in terms of the ceiling for this team right now, it's substantially higher. Just talk about the continued gauntlet of the Big 12 and what Kansas has coming up, at least through the rest of February into the early part of March.
Yeah. Well, when the schedule first came out and we found out we had to play Arizona twice and Iowa State twice, you didn't like that. Then we lose a couple of games that we shouldn't have lost, and suddenly you're almost glad you control your destiny against those teams, because in this wacky conference that we have now, where the schedule imbalance is crazy. Like I was talking to somebody about this earlier today, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and what's the other one here? I'm talking about UCF's double dip of opponents.
Is it Cincinnati?
It's Cincinnati.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
So like UCF is 6-4, and I'm not saying they're going to win the league, but while some of us are double dipping with Arizona and Iowa State, UCF could actually finish as like an 11-7 Big 12
team. Do we
team.
just need to go to 15 games for the conference? I mean, that's not very many games, but then everybody plays everybody once. I mean,
to make it more even.
God.
Yeah, except you don't make as much money when you play fewer games.
Is that a factor?
Sure. So I don't know, but like the point is, certain teams' paths to finishing in the top 5 or 6 are directly related to who they have to play. If you've looked at Arizona's remaining schedule, boy, all the heavy hitters are coming up for them. And that's not to say that 9-0 in the league is a paper tiger, because they're really freaking good, and they didn't lose before the league started either. But it's about to get real for them in a hurry, starting with a couple of games with Kansas. So I think that in terms of expectations for KU, I might have said this on you guys' show last week. Did we do a show last week, or was I can't remember.
We did.
On all my other shows, I said 4-1 was my goal for this 5-game, 15-day stretch, because I really felt like there was enough collective confidence building in the 4-game winning streak at the time. And with 3 of the 5 games being at home, I thought we could hold serve and then steal one of the 2 roadies. Well, we've already gotten one of the roadies. The other's in Ames, and they're going to be ticked. So we'll see how that pans out. But I obviously feel like we got a great shot both Saturday and Monday. And Bill Self has said he's approaching the preparation this week with both opponents in mind, not with any look-ahead factor to Monday. But realistically, a 30-minute practice on Super Bowl Sunday isn't enough time to get ready for number 1 Arizona.
Yeah.
So they're working on some Wildcat concepts right now at the same time that they're working on Utah. But he'll remind the guys with the same quote he's hit his previous 22 teams with, that Monday won't mean half as much if you don't take care of business first on Saturday.
Right.
So I think that's the approach this week. But really excited about the collective confidence they're building. It started on the defensive end of the floor, but now you add in a guy like Peterson, and he's obviously been playing, but when I say you add him in, he's playing through the discomfort. He's showing you he can finish games at Colorado and at Texas Tech. It didn't happen versus BYU, and that was scary, certainly. So we're not going to take that for granted and assume it's going to be the case every night. But he's having fun. This team's coming together. He wants to be out there, and he's finding a way to play through a little bit of the, nagging discomfort there. And so I think all these are positive signs that the team we thought we were going to be way back in June is finally coming to form. And if that's the case, why not us? Who wants to play us at this point? Nobody.
Right.
And the fact that we have to play Arizona, no, we get to play Arizona twice, because we need to climb up a couple of games, and the best way to do it is to take care of business yourself. And so I'm glad we got them twice.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, defensively, that's where it starts for Kansas. They figured that out in the non-con when Peterson was out, and it hasn't been a road without bumps or anything like that, but they figured out how to win, and they've just continued it. And Bidunga has really continued his ascent on that side, as Coach talked about, with the ability to guard 1 through 5 and yet still being able to protect the rim. It's special stuff. And yeah, in terms of seed line for the Big 12 tournament, the more I look at it, the more I kind of want Kansas to get the 1 seed. That's the seed that I think is the goal.
Yeah,
I mean, I think a 1 seed would be good, and then NCAA tournament. The way it looks, I think a 1 seed would be my preference on that as well. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Bracketology for a different day. Brian, as always, appreciate your time, and have a great call on Saturday. Have a great call on Monday. Hopefully, we're talking about a KU team that all of a sudden is 9-2, and well, they're going to be ranked in all likelihood if they beat Utah on Saturday in the top 10. So it should be a fun top 10 matchup on Monday if they get it done.
what was it, January 13th, last time we were in the top 10 of last season, and then we haven't been in it since. And so time to get back to where we belong. But Coach doesn't care about that stuff.
Right.
Let's just start stringing wins together and then see where we sit on Selection Sunday. I just love the vibes around this group.
Totally.
That's one thing we didn't touch on today because I ranted too long about Drake May and the Super Bowl. But the collective vibes in this locker room and the way they're feeling right now about each other and about where they're headed, I think that's the big headline, because we didn't have that the last couple of years. And the absence of it and the presence of it now, it's pretty stark contrast. I'm excited for what that could lead to.
Yeah, winning helps everything too. Those vibes, keep the wins up and keep the vibes good. Brian Hanni, voice of the Jayhawks, joining us here in studio. More Lance Leipold after this. Rock Chalk Sports, KansasNation.com, ESPN, Kansas City. Welcome back to the Kansas Nation studios here downtown Lawrence on Mass Street. We host Rock Chalk Sports. There are many podcasts on KansasNation.com, a part of the Kansas Nation podcast network. Brian Hanni was just in last segment. He has Hanni and the Hawks. Also, Jayhawker Nate Bukaty. He had to sit down with Travis Goff to talk all things KU. More on that here shortly, but more podcasts available, including Greg Gurley and Mick Schaefer. They have one of your favorite podcasts, Between Two Fountains.
Between Two Fountains. Check out that one as well. And then the Timeout with Tyshawn Taylor podcast with Rock.
Yes. Also Tyshawn Taylor.
That's obviously the name of the show. So be sure to check that out, kansasnation.com. Check it out on YouTube as well. All of our shows are going to be on our YouTube channel, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to check those out and check us out on social media as well. Our Facebook has been certainly blowing up. So check us out on Facebook, share, follow, like, subscribe, all of the words. Be sure to spread the word about Kansas Nation.
That Jayhawker episode that I just teased with Travis Goff, a couple more bullet points on that. In-depth conversation with Nate and Travis on the evolving landscape of college athletics. They'll kind of chat on how Kansas had adapted to it in the world that's ever-changing in college sports with NIL.
And the transfer portal.
Facility upgrades, long-term vision. They're going to talk about the progress of the new broadcast booth, what's left to complete it, how it's going to enhance the fan and media experience moving forward. Plus, Travis will share insight into KU's broader athletic goals, explaining how KU plans to continue elevating its basketball programs while investing in and supporting success across all Jayhawk sports. So that's the Jayhawker podcast, which is presented by the University of Kansas Health System and by Xfinity. Get the smartest Wi-Fi only for Xfinity. Imagine that. Check out the Jayhawker podcast and all of our podcasts, kansasnation.com. Let's go back to the football building. Yesterday, the rest of head coach Lance Leipold.
One more on Andy. I'm curious, spending 2 years somewhere else and different ideas and things like that, has he mentioned things to you of different things that he was led on to at Penn State where he learned, different ways of doing it or different approaches for an off-season or game plan meetings, stuff like that? Were there any kind of extra things that he'd mentioned to you that maybe you picked up on at Penn State?
Yeah, I was just going to decide if I was going to say something that I won't say it. Yeah, there's a lot. We talked about. I told you that Andy and I spent time together last summer, and we sat, we sat together and talked for like 3 hours talking about things that were different. I guess I'll say it more generically. Is things that we talked about is that sometimes Big Ten resources are vastly different than Big 12 resources right now. So you can decipher what I'm talking about. So, I mean, that's one of the things. And again, we're still going to talk about, acquisition of players and how you go about those things. But yeah, he talked about in some of those things we're going to analyze closer, our practice format and how we go about it, the weekly schedule, off season right now, some of the things and how they orchestrate their time and do different things. Yeah, right now, again, I'm still very confident on how we go about things. I'm very confident on what we've done to build this program. But again, I will not be doing my job to the fullest if I'm not open to other ways for us to try to be better. And some of those things I have to look at, and we will modify, because I have to look at what has prevented us from closing out games, what has prevented us from not playing better down the stretch in the season. There's some team things that we go, whether it be in our strength and conditioning program, practice format, length of practice, all those things. And Andy and I are talking a lot about those. He has shared a lot of things from there. Talk about things that we do on a recruiting weekend. Talk about that. But And it's great with Andy. And but I do that with anything. I asked DK McDonald what they did at Iowa State. I asked Brandon Shelby what they did at Indiana. If you're not trying to grow and learn about what people are doing, then you're not doing your job, in my estimation.
I know player retention's been a really big focus for you guys over the years. A lot of defensive, offensive players who played a lot last year that were able to return ended up coming back. Someone like Trey, as an example, that too had maybe opportunities elsewhere. How pleased are you with your guys' efforts to be able to keep some of those key players here to maintain that continuity?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's to keep our, again, we talked a lot about player retention. We talked about the lack of player retention when we walked into this job. And it was a focal point of what we had to do to try to change how this program was perceived. And we did that. And we will continue to do that. What is also terrifying, though, is now you put in some of the money and there's some other things. What we have to do is making sure whether they're here or they're coming in here that they still want to compete. Because right now, there's something going on, I think it was the coach at Syracuse, Coach Browner, said something about it. Right now, a lot of us, are exchanging our second string guys because somebody's not happy. But at the same time, when you're bringing somebody in, you got to want to compete. I said it to one of our departing players. You're bringing in a guy from the portal, that means that he's going to play in front of me. No, it doesn't. It didn't happen last year. I can name 5 guys right off the top of my head who didn't start that came in from the portal. But you got to compete. But guys understand we got to bring in other players, but it's like, don't bring in anybody that's too good. Well, that doesn't make sense, okay? I had a player last year that was only here for a semester tell me that well, if you'd have known how the room was going to develop, you wouldn't have recruited me. I go, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I said, why wouldn't I try to get the best football players in our room to make our team the best? That's my responsibility. We have a problem right now where guys want it laid out, and again, that it's going to happen, but we've still got to get a culture of people that want to compete and win jobs. At the end of the day, no matter how much somebody receives, the best players are going to play.
On that note, someone like Chase Jenkins at quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
I know we talked to you a little bit before David transferred. You said maybe not quarterback, David transfers, there's a spot.
Right.
What'd you like about Chase, and maybe what were those conversations like of explaining, hey, we got Isaiah and Cole, but
Yeah, there's going to be opportunity there, but like you said, again, when guys hit the portal and different things, there's a lot of people that reach out, and yet, again, when I say resources and price points are like out of this roof of what you see happening. So when people think of that, I said before, I believe in the guys that are in that quarterback room right now, and I still do. But again, when David decided to move on, we had to make sure that we found another guy that was in there. And when we watched Jason film on how he runs around, what he runs, we felt it fit very much into what we do, and then there was a skill set there that we could develop, and again, he'd compete for the job.
Lance, with Andy coming back, does that change the calculus at all with trying to pick the next quarterback to start for Kansas football?
Change the confidence?
The calculus, and like how we determine who you guys want to play. Does that change because he's a college?
No, I mean, again, as he and I will talk about it. Jim will talk about it, how we go about it. The thing about it was he was involved in Isaiah's recruiting, and he was here when Cole was here, so he knows what we have and where it's going. And again, not to say that we didn't before, but the thing I love about what Andy's done, it was unfortunate for Andy, is that now all of a sudden because he was creative, now he's got this somewhat reputation of being gimmicky, and that's not it. And the thing that Andy has done, he has taken the availability of talent in the room and utilized it to its best abilities. And I go back to our time together at Buffalo. In 2018, we led the MAC in offense and led the MAC in passing. The very next year, we led the MAC in rushing. Again, and that's by utilizing and putting your best players in a chance to do that. So that's what I think he'll do, and I know he'll do a great job doing that.
Lance, this is the first time you guys have had this portal window short, got to get it all done. Just what was it like
It was moving fast, that's for sure, John. And hope you're feeling well, by the way. And I didn't see your name on the injury report anymore, so I think you're better. Yeah, fast and furious, and again, you're trying to find out who's available, how it's moving, can they fit into what you're able to provide. You're trying to get and it's almost like for us, especially the first week, I think we had 25, 26 guys committed in 7 days. It's like a continual flow based on their arrival time, departure times. And it's not like official visit weekends anymore. It was nonstop, but I think all in all, we hit really well on what we targeted and feel really good about it. And on that note, the thing that was very encouraging, whatever, positive, was once again some of the same things I talk about when we talk about our high school class. The families that were here talk about our staff, talk about how genuine and transparent and thorough that they are. They rave about the facilities, and you can look around. We've had a lot of guys, and I think Andy, I'll save that for Andy to answer, but you can ask him about what he thinks of the new facility since he's come back after its completion. There's a lot of things that if we can get young men here, I think we have an excellent chance for us to add to the roster and close deals that way. But it was moving, that's for sure.
This was really the first class that's done this rev share, where they know that money's there. Was there? Did you see changes in how that went?
You mean the high school or both? Well, yeah, it's whether we like it or not, money changes everybody, right? And when it's part of the equation, it becomes part of it for a while. The thing I love best, though, is that when we get back on the field and do things, then we're back to playing the game. And that's what I look forward to. That's what I look forward when we go out there to watch the guys work out and do things. That's it. But it has to be part of it. It is the way of it. And again, I thought Rob Ainella did an excellent job, and the rest of our personnel staff of working with that. There's a endless, and there's not enough hours in the day to be talking to all the representatives and people in the back and forth. Our legal staff within the athletic department, Megan and Chad, were unbelievable. I mean, these things are happening, and you're trying to pump out documents and things like that to try to get things done. It's like I said, it's pretty crazy as you hear everybody talk about it.
Last one for me, you mentioned something about Andy come on staff, and you said something about a few small changes. Are there any?
Yep. Yeah. Probably the next biggest one is that Joe Deneen will now coach our defensive ends, and Ty Woe will be strictly special teams coordinator. In the unlimited coaching now that you have, it just makes the most sense to use our personnel in such a way that I thought we had a good year in special teams. I think we can take another step in that. Joe's an outstanding young coach, a lot of great energy, a lot of good thoughts. Talking with DK, we thought this would be a way for us to move forward and try to be a little bit better where, Taiwo is trying to balance things during the day, during certain things like that. I think he's done a very good job. You look at our defensive ends, they've been very productive in our program here and at Buffalo. But I just feel for us taking the next step, that was one that we should do. Bill Quizert, who was here as a graduate assistant and a quality control coach, went with Andy to Penn State. Has also returned and working in an assistant offensive line position for us as well.
You mentioned David moving on, which helped open the spot for Chase. Were you surprised that David decided to move on?
I'm learning that nothing will surprise me anymore with what's happening. You've got to respect everyone's decisions, whether you always agree or not. In David's situation, I understand it. He felt it would be tough to get a full run at the position. David's a quality young man that you think a lot of him and his family. Did it surprise me? Probably not, because at the beginning, it did in the fact that I thought we were on a good track, that everything was pointing that he would, and then all of a sudden you get detoured, and we did that with about 4 or 5 other guys as well that happened to. So, yeah, and then of course you get a lot of calls about him and stuff like that, and we tried to help every guy that moved on, and I think most of our guys have. So.
With Dylan Edwards, he's switching sides of the rivalry. Was that a topic of conversation, just having to deal with the attention? That not all transfers can have that kind of attention because they're not switching. Like he is.
I think we all know it's in the room that way. The thing that Dylan and I talked about is that I wanted to make sure that he knew that we were in this with him together to make this a good experience for him. And that was maybe different than some of his other options that he looked at. And again, yeah, rivalries and emotions and things like that from that is can be there, and it probably will continue until a game is played. But for us, it was more of him being healthy and being in a great mindset that he knows that this is a place that can utilize his skills, and for him to, like I said, play his best football that he possibly can.
One more. You guys have a lot of additions just in the trenches, D-tackle, D-end, and offensive line. Could you walk through maybe both sides, what you liked about
I wonder if we're going to talk about any of these guys or not. So I don't know, got all these. Again, I'll try to hit some high points and not single out too many guys, of course, is that we wanted to, defensive line after we lose these guys, we knew we had to get some bigger bodies and add depth there and get some older players. And I think we were able to really hit on that. I think you're going to like the guys, we bring in 4 there. I think we gives us good depth. Blake Harold, of course, is there. Marcus Calvin continues to get better and played some down the stretch. So I really like and the amount of 3 defensive tackles that we played last year, we had to go get a couple more bodies and bodies that had played in college football games, and we did that. David Santiago is a big body, another defensive end from Michigan State. Really like him. Probably, we thought we might lose 2 linebackers, but it ended up being more, and others had indicated that they were probably staying that didn't. So to go hit that, and then again, a lot of those guys. But I really like the makeup of that linebacker room, size, athleticism. It'll be a very highly competitive room there and stuff there. Thought we did the same thing at safety after some things there. After we lost a few, thought we added a couple corners that'll be athletic, add depth, and we know we have guys that have played there, so that was just a little different search in that regard. Flipping the other side of the ball, we needed to get length at receiver. We thought Nick McMillan. Nick is somebody that we offered him when we were still at Buffalo. He might have been a freshman in high school, so ironic that it's returned that way. Najee Cox is a receiver from Middle Tennessee, that big body that makes a lot of contested catches. Thought we added 2 athletic tight ends to go with the guys that are there now. The running backs are big body guys, and then the ability to add Dylan and his ability to be multiple and used in different ways will be nice. Big bodies up front. Again, we had to continue to add competition on the outside of at the tackle spot. And yet at the same time, big Connor Stroh and a couple others inside that I think, will give us a chance. Casey Carpenter's played between Tulsa and Oklahoma State. Have to, create some things there at the center spot. That's pretty fast. I'm trying, so. All right.
That's KU football head coach Lance Leipold. Hey, after this, we're going to keep you up to date on everything that happened last night in the Big 12 on the men's side, and also a huge top 10 upset in the West Coast Conference. You can probably guess who that is. That's all next. Coming up, KansasNation.com, ESPN, Kansas City. There's two guys and there's two fountains there between them. Greg Gurley and Mick Schaefer, kansasnation.com. They are between two fountains, are Greg and Mick. Check out their podcast at kansasnation.com. Jayhawker podcast, Hanni and the Hawks, Time Out with Tyshawn Taylor, and much more. And we appreciate any listeners on Rock Chalk Sports, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Like, subscriptions. It is a big help. kansasnation.com, the place to be, and at the Kansas Nation on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Kansas Nation on Facebook. Big 12 scores last night. BYU stays down. They get clipped in Stillwater. Let's not overlook that game when Kansas goes there on February 18th down to Gallagher-Iba. All of a sudden, Oklahoma State's 4-5. UCF, they didn't cover the number as Dan expected they would. They get blown out at the Fertitta Center by Houston. Arizona State over Utah as well in the Big 12, and one more score as well.
Yeah, Colorado-Baylor.
Yeah, Baylor. All over
Baylor,
them.
they wind up beating Colorado 86-60. Bless you.
I'm good.
So, I mean, I kind of anticipated this just because I said that they have two guys who are pretty much bona fide NBA talent guys, Cameron Carr and Tunde Yesufu. Carr had 19 points in this game. Yesufu had 27. When you look at Colorado, their top scorer had 12 in Jalen Holland. So Colorado is not a great team by any stretch of the imagination. You kind of imagine Baylor needed to get back on track.
What's interesting is I look at the standings, and we were talking about this a little bit off air. All of a sudden, I mean, it's looking to me, and again, there's a lot of questions. You got half the season to play, but Kansas should finish in the top 4 in the Big 12 with how it looks right now. That doesn't guarantee anything. We know Kansas has tough games, but a lot of teams have tough games. Arizona's 9-0, Houston's 8-1, Iowa State and Kansas are 7-2. Tech is 6-3, and Kansas has the tiebreaker over Tech. Everybody else has at least 4 losses because UCF and BYU both lost last night. A lot to be decided. Tonight, does Cincinnati cover the 5.5 against West Virginia?
I think that they do.
Fifth Third Arena in Cincinnati.
I think that they do. I think that... Actually, you know what? Never mind. Give me West Virginia. Money line.
That is Dan at his finest talking game picks. That's going to do it for Rock Chalk Sports today. Tomorrow, Friday edition, we're going to be previewing KU Utah. We're going to have Shreyas Latta in studio. We're going to hear from Bill Self as well. Rock Chalk Sports, that's all coming up. For Elijah Schmidt running the operations and Dan Courtwright, Sean Kellerman saying we'll see you tomorrow from 4 to 6. KansasNation.com, ESPN, Kansas City.